Hey, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'd love to hear where you're checking in from. Paul Sterling here. I'm actually coming to you from a new place today in Carmel Valley. So today I'm going to talk to you about needs versus neediness. And as a relationship coach, I've been doing this for about 25 years, over 25 years. This is one of the most important topics that there is when it comes to relationships, and it's often the topic we're most uncomfortable talking about even having needs. So we're going to dive into this topic. This is going to be interactive, so hopefully you have a pen and paper in front of you. You're going to walk away with a new way of looking at your relationship if you're going to play all out. If you want something light and fluffy, this is probably not the broadcast for you. Keep on going. But if you want to dive deep into what makes a relationship work and what destroys relationships, today is that topic. So needs versus neediness. And if you get this, and I've got some notes here, if you get this wrong, needs end up feeling like a burden. Your needs, your partner's needs, and they become overwhelming. And when your needs stop feeling like they're precious to you or your partner, you stop feeling precious. And it's, somebody's saying, just you and me, Paul. Okay. Hi there. Hi, Kelly. And there's several other people joining us. If needs stop getting met in a relationship, what happens, it leads to betrayals, affairs, broken agreements. You can lose the love of your life. And if it's embarrassing to ask for your needs to get met, you end up feeling like there's something wrong with you, that there's shame and all that. So that's if you get them wrong. If you get them right, if you make friends with your needs and with your partner's needs, you create a safe space for asking for what you want and need in a relationship. You actually have the opportunity for your relationship to become magnificent and magical. If you get it right, your needs start to matter for you and you have longevity for the future. You have a possibility of really making something remarkable happen in the relationship. And if you get it right, you have the chance to make your relationship better and better. So when it comes to needs, what I'd like to ask you is some questions about that. So when it comes to needs, how do you feel about your needs? Do they feel like they're an embarrassment? Do you feel ashamed? Do you embrace them and feel like they're precious and part of you? So which one is it? So we're going to dive into this and take a look. All right. If you tell me your relationship to your needs, I'll tell you the future of your relationship. Think about that for a second. If you tell me your relationship to your needs, I'll tell you the future of your relationship. If you have a good relationship with your needs, most likely you're going to have a good and maybe even a remarkable relationship. If you have a lot of embarrassment and shame around your needs, you're going to have a miserable relationship and it's not likely to last. So three big problems when it comes to relationship. And I know there's more than that, but needs shame. We feel like we're broken, that there's something wrong with us. We hope that our needs will go away. And it can be needs. And I'm going to name the top 10 needs. And when I worked for Tony Robbins, he had the top 6 needs that he talked about that were universal in every relationship. And if you want to know more about his top 6 needs, go to the TED Talk that Tony Robbins did. He'll name them there, and I'll go through them later. So number 1 is need shame. There's something wrong with me. Like I used to have need shame around my sex drive. and my partner said I was too needy in that area, and I felt shame. Like if I only had less of a sex drive, I could have a relationship that worked. The next one up is mind reading. This is where we're embarrassed about having a need and we're afraid to ask. And if you don't meet my needs without me, I'm going to start over on that one. Mind reading. So this is where we're embarrassed about our needs, and we hope that you're going to read our mind without me having to ask for my needs. And if you don't read my mind and meet my needs without me asking, you don't love me. How many of you have ever run into that one? And then the third one, what happens is when we don't make friends with our needs, we end up making demands or nagging or begging. We ask in a way to get our needs met that almost guarantees we're going to create the 3 R's: resistance, resentment, regret. So the idea here is we want our relationships to keep getting better and better. And to do that, it's got to be somewhat easy to win, hard to lose state of gratitude. When we start taking each other for granted, easy to lose, hard to win, and it gets worse and worse, and we end up here at the PONR, point of no return. And so what I'm trying to do is help people avoid the point of no return and keep making your relationship better and better. So if you want to know the secret to making your relationship better and better, just type in, I want the secret. Now, yes, I'm going to ask you to interact with me. Otherwise, it feels like this is a one-way conversation I'm having with my computer. So your interactions, your comments help me feel alive and connected. Now, the heartbeat of making a relationship work is we make daily deposits in the relationship account. And I'm going to tell you what to deposit in a second. And what destroys a relationship is when there's too many withdrawals. So if you have a bank account and there's too many withdrawals and not enough deposits, what happens? You end up bankrupt and they close your account. What happens in a relationship? If there's not enough deposits and too many withdrawals, account closed, divorce, separation, whatever it is. So I'm going to dive in here and tell you, and somebody, yes, I am ready to interact. I am ready to interact too. So let's dive in and look at it. Now, there was a movie out there at one point called City Slickers. And in City Slickers, he talked about just one thing. Now, this is probably going to bug some people, what I'm about to say. And I don't know that I'm totally 100% right. It may not be the only reason, but it is definitely, after 25, 30 years of research, the dominant thing. What's the reason to be in a relationship? To get your needs met. What happens in a relationship when you stop getting your needs met? Relationship starts to end. Game over. You can still love each other, but if you stop getting your needs met, it's game over. So the one reason here that I'm going to talk about is needs. Now, the challenge is, how do you talk about your needs without being accused of being needy? I'm going to dive into that. I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to give you the big picture here in 2 seconds. This is a map of relationships. There are 3 areas: your heart set, your skill set, your mindset. When it comes to your heart set, the key to it is getting your needs met. And if they feel like a burden, you're in danger. If they feel precious, you're likely to have your relationship work. So that's your heart set. Your skill set is all about clearing up the past, connecting, getting present, creating possibilities for the future. Don't worry, you're not supposed to get all of this right now. We're going to dive into just this part, the needs part. I want you to see where it fits in the big picture. In the big picture, we've got the heart set, the skill set, mindset. So are your skills, are you unprepared or are you well equipped for relationships? And when it comes to the mindset, your relationship operating system, your ROS, are you set up to sabotage or support the relationship? So does that make sense? I want to give you the big picture. That's the big picture. You could look at, I could literally teach for 2 or 3 hours, no problem, just on this one slide. But I'm not going to. I'm going to jump down and look at this one. So when it comes to your needs, there's 3 big things: suppressing, ignoring, and then making demands. Do we suppress our needs? Do we pretend that we don't have them? Do we hold our breath and hope our needs will go away? Do we ignore them, or are we willing to talk about them? Or do we make demands? So let's take a look at where you are. And this is an interactive part. Now, you can share it with me, share it with the rest of the group, or just be quiet, or you can send me a personal message on this. But here we go. We're going to look at where you are in the 4 needy or needs quadrants. So this line right here is the burden to precious. Do you feel like your needs are a burden, or do you feel like your needs are precious? Over here, are you, actually that's supposed to be suppressed versus disconnected, but similar. Do you suppress your needs or do you express your needs? So let's take a look. Down in this quadrant, we suppress our needs and they feel like a burden. So in this quadrant, what do we deal with? Shame. And people go, what needs? I don't have any needs. Needs are a weakness. And I want to know that, can people relate to this when you see needs as a weakness? Now, this is how I was brought up. My dad, very strong Irish alcoholic, ex-recovering Catholic, and his whole thing was don't show weakness. And he said the best defense is a strong offense. So you weren't supposed to talk about needs, and any talk about needs meant you were needy, weak, shameful. So this quadrant down here is needs equal shame. Now, I spent a lot of my life in that quadrant. I couldn't name my needs. I couldn't negotiate them. I couldn't even notice them. Needs were something to be gotten over. Needs embarrassment is the next one. This is where when you're here, you've made a little bit of friends with your needs. You see them as precious, but they're still suppressed. So you can't talk about them. But if your lover loved you, they would want to meet your needs. Is that making sense? So you go, read my mind. Now, what often happens when you're in that embarrassment phase and read my mind, rather than making requests, they will often come out as a complaint. Like, you didn't hug me, we haven't made love in 3 weeks, or you didn't make me dinner, or whatever it is. So when you're in this phase, it's all about complaints versus making bold requests. So I'm going to call that section 2. That first one was number 1. This one is number 3. This one is where our needs are a burden, but we're going to express them. So let me see if I can get there we go. So when we feel like our needs are a burden, but we're going to express them. We end up making demands. We end up begging. So we're either dominating. This is where the narcissist comes in, and we dominate, manipulate, beg, nag, or try to trade to get our needs met because we don't see our needs as precious, but we're not willing to let them go. So how do we express them? We express them as a demand or begging or manipulation. Can any of you relate to this? You know, or any of the first three? Needs shame, needs embarrassment, needs begging. And by the way, I have done all of these. I'm not claiming to be someone who's perfect as far as this goes. I just know it's a journey worth going on. So I'm going to slow down for a second, take a breath, see where you all are. And here's the last one, needs embrace. Now, needs embrace is where you see your needs as precious and you make requests versus demands. Would you be willing to? You know, my beloved is great about, like, when I would get home after a long trip or something, she would be great at, would you hug me? Would you just hold me? Would you do this? You know, she made precious requests. And the thing is, I can feel, like, when I'm doing it, I can feel some fear, some shame, some embarrassment. And it takes being bold. Would you be willing to do this? Would you be willing to rub my feet, give me a massage, make love, do dinner? What happens is this is requests, equal life. When you're giving, when you're meeting somebody's needs, you're basically letting them know that they matter. And even if you can't meet their needs, you let them know that their needs are precious. So how many of you would like to feel like your needs are precious versus burden? Which one do you want? Precious versus burden. If you could type that into the comments, that would be awesome. I'm going to take a sip. Awesome. So let's take a look here. I'm wanting to know where you are in this too. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Do you feel like shame around your needs? And I can still go there. I would like to feel like my needs are precious. Oh my God, yes. I want to ask you, how different is your relationship, or would your relationship be, when you feel like your needs are precious versus a burden down here? How different would your relationship be up in this one? So as far as, for me, this is transformational to get up here. And when I work with couples, the whole thing, I mean, there's a lot that we do, but the whole journey is to get people from feeling like your needs are a burden all the way up to feeling like your needs are precious. And to be able to do that, there's 3 basic phases. And somebody's saying very different, awesome. Number 1 is to be able to notice your needs. And how do you notice your needs? You have a built-in GPS. Now, I spent 18 years as a commercial fisherman in Alaska, and one of the things we had on the bigger ships was something called autopilot. And autopilot, you would set a course, and then it would keep adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. And somebody's saying, I'm using my housemates for this exercise. Absolutely. This is not just your intimate relationship. This is any relationship. I use this with my housemates. I use this with my family. I've used this at work. The only reason we do anything, this is what Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of nonviolent communication, said. The only reason we do anything is to get our precious needs met. So actually, I'm going to bounce to another slide here for a second. Maybe I'm not. I just readjusted all of these, just like, oh, there we go. Literally 2 minutes before the show, I was there juggling because I have this need for perfectionism. Now, that's not a real need. That's just a desire. All right. So here's the thing that happens. Think about the results you're getting in your relationship right now. What are the results you're getting? That is also your past. What's your past? Then if you think about that, what action are you taking? This is going to tie all into needs here in 2 seconds. I'm not going on not cycling out here. All right. So to get a result, what do you have to take? You have to take action. And what controls the action? So the action you take controls the results you get. The results or the actions you take are controlled by your beliefs, and your beliefs are controlled by two things. One is your past results, and the other one is your vision. Now, anybody know who Roger Bannister was? Roger Bannister. Anybody out there know who that name is? This guy, if you're in the world of sports, he was really famous years ago because he is the guy who was the first one who ran a 4-minute mile. Now, for thousands of years, since the Romans, people have been trying to run a 4-minute mile, and they basically had a belief after a while that it was impossible. And so the action they took, they didn't run a 4-minute mile. Results, no 4-minute mile. Now, once Roger Bannister ran a 4-minute mile within a year, and I'm making up the numbers here because I don't remember it exactly, but now for thousands of years, nobody has run a 4-minute mile. One person runs a 4-minute mile because they had a vision that it was possible. So they went by their vision, not the past, and they run it. And then what happens is, I think it was somewhere between 18 and maybe up to 30 people ran a 4-minute mile in that year. Because once one person had broken it, it created a whole new vision. People's beliefs changed. They took different actions. They produced different results. So what I want to do is have you look right now at your situation and look at what are some empowering beliefs and what are some limiting beliefs when it comes to needs. So I'm going to ask a question, write it down either in the comments or write it down on a piece of paper. But when my partner tells me that their needs, I feel what? What do you feel? And sometimes people feel angry, upset. Sometimes they feel more connected, more intimate. The next question, my needs are, and type in, or what is the answer for that? My needs are, and then fill in the blank. This is going to reveal what? It's going to reveal your beliefs around your needs. If you feel your needs are a burden, what kind of action are you going to take? You're going to ask in a way that's like, you wouldn't want to meet my needs, would you? You're going to make, either you're going to beg or you're going to make a demand. So look at what are your beliefs around that. Let's see. Having needs makes me, what's the answer to that one? Having needs makes me, now fill in the blank. Does it make you powerful? Does it make you feel alive? Does it make you feel weak? Does it make you feel vulnerable? Which one is, if you're feeling bold and courageous, just share that with me. Which one is it? When having needs makes me feel I have a need for communication, interaction, and a spirit of collaboration. Perfect. Well, beautiful. So look at it. What we want to do is look at, are your needs empowering? Are your needs limiting? Having needs makes me human. There's a precious, beautiful belief. And see, when I look at my needs, and for years I thought my needs were a weakness. Having needs makes me weak. Having needs makes me vulnerable. And vulnerability is bad. Having needs makes me human. Having needs makes me alive. Having needs makes me fun to be in a relationship with. So, this right here, understanding your beliefs about your needs, because your beliefs decide the action you're going to take. And that's going to produce the results. Do you make demands when it comes down here? I want to go to the next one. No, not going to go there yet. But if you make demands, what's likely to happen with your needs? Is your partner likely to want to meet them or resist them? The results, you might end up very sad. Needs are an opportunity for creativity. There we go. So I'm going to ask one more question on this slide before we bounce to the next one. What's your vision of your relationship? Do you want a remarkable relationship? And somebody's there saying demands don't work. What demands get is the 3 R's. Demands get resistance, resentment, regret. You look at countries that do it, you look at people that do it. What really works in relationship and in life is vulnerability. That's why Brene Brown's work has struck such a chord. That's why millions and millions of people have been looking at her work. It's all about vulnerability. And how do you deal with that? And if you haven't seen Brene Brown, go to Brene Brown TED Talk or Vulnerability TED Talk on YouTube. It's amazing work. So if you want a remarkable relationship, what you need is a set of beliefs that support that and that empower it so that you take empowered action and you get empowered results. Is this making sense? Is this something that you're interested in? Now, I know I put a lot on this slide, so I'm going to do it so you only see a little bit at a time. We have a choice here. If you want to have a different relationship with your needs, because here's the difference between needs and neediness. It's how desperate you're feeling at that moment. And if you only see that there's one way to get your needs met, it ends up feeling like a demand to the other person. So if you're not feeling good about your needs, you end up seeming needy. So it's like, if I look at it, I can help almost anybody feel needy. Here's a simple way of doing it. Hold your breath. No, hold your breath longer. Keep holding it. Keep holding it. I guarantee you within 1 or 2 minutes at the most, you're going to feel incredibly needy about getting oxygen. So why do people feel needy? It's because they're not getting their needs met. This is common for all of us. So what do we need to do? We need to learn how to notice our needs. And we have an internal GPS system that helps us understand what our needs are. Those are the feelings that we have when our needs are being met and when our needs aren't being met. Now, the problem is, if you don't have a good relationship, and sometimes I don't, with my feelings, then there's certain feelings I want to feel and certain feelings I ignore. And all feelings, like actually, literally, yesterday, literally, I was on a 4-hour drive. My oil light came on. First time since I've owned my car. I've owned my car for years. First time the oil light came on. I had two choices. I could have done this. I could have, let's see, ignored it. I could have like put a piece of tape over the oil warning light. Or I could have heard it as a request. My oil light was requesting. What was my oil light requesting? I'm asking a question here. This interact. I know it sounds silly, but what was the oil light's request? It had a precious need for more oil. Now, if I ignore the request, what happens to the relationship between me and my car? It's going to get ugly because the engine doesn't run without oil. So I pulled over, I got oil, and we got back on the road again. It's important. I'm going to tell you, it's important to have a basic attitude of asking yourself and your partner, what precious needs are you trying to get met? And when you have feelings, well, let me just ask, check the oil level. When your feelings are being met, or when your needs are being met, what feelings do you have? So just type in some feelings that you have when your needs are being met. And I'll wait for you for a second. And I'll give you a couple of ideas. When my feelings are being met, I feel loved. I feel happy. I feel excited. So I have needs for travel, for adventure, all these different things. When my needs are getting met, comfort, there's some other feelings. Now, secure. Now, what kind of feelings do you have? Safe, comfort, secure, safe, all beautiful feelings. Now, what kind of feelings do you have when your needs are not being met? It could be the opposite. Scared, not safe, insecure, uncomfortable. And what are those feelings? They're precious feelings to tell you to pay attention. I had a pain in my mouth. I could have taken painkillers to suppress it. And what it would have done is I could have gotten rid of the bad feeling, but the feeling was there to tell me something, that that my jaw or my tooth was getting infected and I needed to deal with it. So feelings are your GPS to tell you whether or not your needs are getting met, whether you're safe, unsafe, stressed. Those are all really super important for your relationship. So this is the first thing, knowing how to notice your needs, and that's by paying attention to your feelings. Does this make sense? I'd love to hear it. Make sense, or you have a question, one or the other. And thank you so much for participating and typing stuff in. Makes me feel it meets my need for connection and contribution, which is why I do these things. Because I have one of the top 10 needs is this precious need to contribute. And in a minute, I'm going to go through the top 10, not all of them, but the top 10 I've put together, which is a mix of Tony Robbins and Marshall Rosenberg's work. Okay, so we can either ignore our needs and pretend that we don't have any, or we can learn how to name them. And what are your needs? Needs tend to be universal. Everybody has them. And when I list them out, like the need for intimacy, the need for connection, the need for growth, the need for contribution. And what happens, though, is sometimes we confuse our needs with our strategy. So a strategy might mean we might say, I need to go to McDonald's. Now, is going to McDonald's? Now, I'm not promoting McDonald's. I rarely eat there. It's just an example. Don't jump all over me. Is going to McDonald's a need or a strategy? See, what I want to do is the need might be for food or ease or entertainment or speed. The strategy might be McDonald's. What I'm going to ask you to do is get committed to the need, not the strategy. Become flexible with the strategy. Next, we want to talk about what are the top 10 needs. Now, in relationships, having done this over 25 years, I have almost never, no, I'm actually going to say never, had anybody come to me and say, you know what, Paul, my top 3 needs, even out of the top 10, my top 3 needs are being met at levels on a scale of 1 to 10, they're being met at 7s, 8s, and 9s. I think I'm going to get a divorce. I think I'm going to separate. I'm going to jump in and get a new relationship because that's not good enough for me. Never happened. When your needs are getting met at levels even 6 or above, you've got a great relationship. So it's really critical, number one, to know what your partner's needs are. Because if you want to make your relationship bulletproof, have a partner where you're meeting their needs on a regular basis. And if you want to have an amazing relationship, have a relationship where your needs are getting met on a regular basis. To do that, you've got to be able to notice your needs, name your needs, and the last one, rather than making demands, learn how to negotiate or make requests. So what I want to do is I'm going to tell you the top 10 and you get to pick your top 3. Is this making sense? So if it's making sense, just make sense to me or I'm following you, whatever it is. That way I know you're still out there. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm going to go through the top. Well, you know what? I'm going to go through the top 10 right now. And what I want you to do is as I'm going through these top 10, I want you to look at which one is your number one. Now, the reason they're considered needs, they're universal. These are in relationships. If you want to have a powerful relationship, see, Maslow had the hierarchy of needs for survival. This is the needs for having a remarkable relationship. And so almost everybody on this Facebook Live, almost everybody out there has these same top 10 needs in relationships. What makes us different is the hierarchy. Which one is most important to you? Which one is next most important to you? So I'm going to describe them, and here's your homework, should you decide to accept it, is pick your number 1, number 2, and number 3. And whether it's with if you're in a relationship, share this with your partner and find out their number 1, 2, and 3. If you're living with other people, do this with your roommates and find out. Some of these might not apply for your roommates, but most of them will. So number 1, certainty and trust. Now, this is only the number 1 here, but you can make it. It may not be your most dominant one. So your job is to figure out which one's most important. But certainty and trust is all about, is there certainty and trust in the I'm talking to you and I didn't show you this. Sorry about that. Here they are. Here's your top 10 needs. So I'm going to go through them one at a time. I was talking to you about them and didn't show them to you. Certainty and trust. Is there certainty and trust in the relationship? Can you trust your partner? Are boundaries respected? Are they, do people keep their word? Can you count on each other? Now, if you think about it, certainty and trust is what allows you to drive on a road. I just drove for 4.5 hours yesterday. And you know what? A lot of the way, there was cars going by me at 65 miles an hour one way. I'm going 65 miles an hour the other way. The only thing that separated us was this: a line painted on the road and an agreement. You're going to stay on your side of the line. I'm going to stay on my side of the line. That created a certainty and trust that I could drive. Now, what you're wanting in a relationship is how important is certainty and trust. Now, if certainty and trust is number one for you, then you're probably going to want a monogamous relationship. If so, number two, uncertainty and variety is most important to you, you may end up with an open relationship or polyamory or all the rest of that. Now, uncertainty, let me just explain that one. If I cook a really good meal, like this morning, I helped cook a great breakfast, veggie scrambled eggs. It was awesome. And if that was the same breakfast tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after, there'd be a lot of certainty, but not a lot of variety. And pretty soon it'd be pretty friggin' boring. So if you don't build some uncertainty and variety into your relationship, they might go somewhere else. Oh, somebody say they lost the sound. Now, I'm still showing the sound. So hopefully, if you're getting the sound, let me know that you got the sound. I'm going to check and make sure that my mic is still there. Mic, camera, audio. All right. Hopefully see if the sound is back. Okay. Sorry about that. Don't know how long the sound was out, but thank you for letting me know. Okay. So I'm going to bounce back and go through these real quickly just in case. Number one, certainty and trust needs to have it in the relationship. Number two, uncertainty or variety. Now, at one point, Hugh Grant, the actor from Hollywood, was married to this woman, Elizabeth Hurley. Now, Elizabeth Hurley, I am just going by People magazine, not that I go there for, my wisdom, but People magazine made Elizabeth Hurley in their 100 most beautiful women in the world. So Hugh Grant is married to one of the most beautiful women in the world, at least according to People. And you know what he got busted for? He got busted for soliciting prostitution in New York City. Now, I'm not making it okay, not okay. I don't care. It's not my deal. I just want to tell you that if you're not building variety into the relationship, people will go outside the relationship to get a need met. If you don't get fed at home, you're going to eat somewhere else. Why is it critical to know what your needs are and your partner's needs are? Is because without the needs getting met, the relationship is going to fall apart. So certainty, then variety. Number three, significance. How do you let your partner know that they are significant to you, that they are a priority? One of the ways you let them know is even in this time when we're super busy, you take time out and you listen. So like if you go out to dinner with your partner, you turn this on mute or airplane mode or turn it off or leave it home. You let the person across from you know that they're significant, that they are a priority. Even if it's for 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a 10-minute exercise in the bedroom that you can do. You can set a timer and say, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to do whatever it is that you want. And you just give to your partner as long as it's within, whatever your two agreements are, but make them feel significant, like they are a priority. Now, the rest of these I'm going to go through a little quicker. And what I want you to look at as I go through these, what's number one for you? What's number two? What's number three? And an exercise you can do later, or even now if you're really quick, but you put each of these on Post-its, all 10 of them, and you rearrange them and you go, if I could only have either certainty or variety, which one would I go? Well, certainty is more important. So that goes at the top, variety.
Then if I could only have variety or be significant, which one would it be? And you rearrange them so that you start to see how your brain is wired, how your heart is wired. What's your priorities when it comes to your needs? So number 4 here is love and connection. And there are 5 love languages. If you want to really transform your partner or your love life, know the 5 love languages. And this is, you can get the book, The 5 Love Languages. That's a great start. They're talk, touch, time, gifts, acts of service. Those are the 5 love languages. If you want to speak to your partner, if your partner only spoke Spanish, what would you do? You'd learn some Spanish. I dated someone years ago who spoke English and Portuguese, and I was learning Portuguese. Eu falo portuguesa, obrigado. It's like I wanted to learn their language, to speak their love language, and it improves the connection. So if you look at that, where is that as far as the priority goes? Is that number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Number 5 here. This one is important because we're either growing or we're dying. If you look at that, that is sort of a principle of life. We're growing or dying. And in a relationship, how interested are you? How committed are you to growing? See, there's 3 purposes in a relationship. Number 1, or purposes for a relationship. Number 1, survival. Now, there's people that's all that matters to them, the survival of the relationship. That used to be really important because if the relationship didn't survive, you didn't. So it was life and death. Keep the relationship alive doesn't mean you don't even have to like each other anymore, but nobody's getting a divorce. The next one up is comfort. And I want you to think about this. Which one really resonates with you? Survival, comfort, or the third one, growth? Now, see, I was together with my ex-wife. We were together for 18 years. We still loved each other when we got a divorce, but she wanted this kind of relationship. I wanted this kind of relationship. I'm not saying one's better or worse, but if you're wanting growth and your partner's wanting comfort, growth is uncomfortable. It can suck at times. And it's important to know what you want. All right. The next one, contribution. How important is contribution to you? And what needs to happen? So it's not only contribution in the relationship, but it's contribution in the world. For 8.5 years, I taught nonviolent communication in jail. I would go in once a month, started a volunteer program, and I would go in, work with anywhere from minimum to maximum security inmates because it met a need of mine to contribute, to make a difference for these people. And it did make a difference. And earlier today, there's a orphanage in Africa. I know that sounds odd because it's, everybody, well, I won't say everybody. I had a picture when they first approached me of, oh my God, is this a scam? But I got to know the orphanage and I got to meet people from there and I got a Zoom tour of it and to meet some of the kids. And earlier today, I sent them money. I've been sending them money for over 3 years. Why? Because it meets my need to make a difference, to contribute. So how important is contribution to you in your relationship and to the people you're living with? Do you want to be with someone who really likes to contribute or doesn't? Okay, so we're zipping through these as I go through the last 4. Intimacy. There's emotional intimacy. Do you have emotional IQ? Is it important to be able to talk about your feelings? To me, that's critical because my feelings guide me to either whether my needs are getting met or not getting met. Do you like physical intimacy? Oh my God, touch is critical to me. Holding, hugging, massaging each other, cuddling each other. So it's physical intimacy is not sexual. I divide it into 3 things: emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, sexual intimacy. Is sexual intimacy important to you? If it is, I made a video on Tantra and sacred sexuality. It's been seen 6.2 million times on YouTube. If you get a hold of me, I can get you the link, or you can go and look at Tantra Exploring Sacred Sexuality and watch that. Here's one that people don't want to talk about, but is critical. It's one of the top 10 reasons people get a divorce, is because they stop being attractive to each other. And that's really, like, it's important. We don't want to talk about it. You should love me just the way I am. And that's great in fairy tales, but doesn't work in life. And stay in shape, go to the gym, be attractive, be alive, continue to do that, and be attractive to yourself and to your partner. Don't give up on life. So what I'd love to hear is, I'd love to have somebody, or all of you that are listening here, decide what's your number 1, 2, 3 top needs. So there are 10 of them here. These are not the only 10. But I'll tell you, if you take care of even the top 3, they're going to make a huge difference for you. So what's your number 1? What's your number 2? What's your number 3? So if you could type that in, that would be great. Then you sit down with your partner and go through these and look at what is their number 1, 2, and 3. And you learn how to notice, name, and negotiate your needs. So if you're able to do this, I'm going to tell you, a collaborative communication. Cool. There's a great, precious need. When I worked with this couple, they had been struggling. They'd gone to a lot of different couples, counselors, therapists, and we worked together. And we worked together for about 90 days, and they were back in Vermont. So we worked together over Zoom. And what happened is, she got back her feminine power and went from feeling like he had all the power and the final say, to understanding he wanted to be her hero and make her happy. How different would your relationship be if that was happening? She was able to use the "can you hear me now" process and enter his world, so he felt heard, understood, and valued. It gave her more patience, confidence, and compassion in her connection, and she was able to discover which of her 10 core needs were beneath almost any upsets. Because anytime that you're triggered, or almost anytime you're triggered because a precious need of yours is not getting met. And that's that feeling, that's that warning indicator, that's the oil light saying, warning, warning, oil light, your need is not getting met. So if you tell me what wakes you up early, what keeps you up late, what opens your heart, what breaks your heart, I can tell you what your precious needs are, or you can tell yourself. She stopped taking his masculinity personal and started enjoying the difference, and she got clear on the power of her words. What would that be like to be in that kind of a relationship? Now, she gave me 2 pages of notes. I'm only giving you a few of the highlights. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. I'm not easy to work with. I'm a challenging coach. This is not easy topic. It's uncomfortable. People are dealing with shame, embarrassment, discomfort. It's hard for them to really identify their needs. Otherwise, I love this quote from Kennedy. He said, "By the time decisions get to my desk, all the easy ones have been made. By the time couples get to my office, they've tried all the easy stuff. I get the hard cases. I work with people that still love each other. And I typically work with high achiever couples that almost every aspect of their life is amazing from the outside, and their relationship is falling apart." So he got to not take himself so seriously and start having more fun. He got to understand the differences between, and he said men and women, but also the differences between feminine and masculine ways of being, because I work with regular couples. What's regular? That's a weird term, but I work with homosexual couples, gay couples, lesbian couples, straight couples, whatever it is. I work with a wide variety. And so I go to, rather than saying men and women anymore, I talk about masculine and feminine energy, and we all have that. He got to see sex as a great indicator of how connected they were and whether the relationship was in good shape or not. He loved that he was able to enter her world so that she felt heard, understood, and valued, and he felt like her hero. He stopped worrying. This is critical. I'm going to say this a couple of times. This is critical. He stopped worrying about what he said and became very interested in what she heard. This was a huge breakthrough. I will say it one more time. He stopped worrying about what he said and became more interested or very interested in what she heard. That alone will transform the way you communicate. And he loved that they both became aware of the impact of any language that implies bad, stupid, wrong. So here we go. It is what? It's decision time. What's your next step? Now that you know about your needs, and you may know a lot before the call, but now that you've gotten clearer about your precious needs and know what the top 10 are, what are you going to do? You have three options. You can do nothing. Ignore them and hope that they go away. And basically, it will sabotage you and your relationship and maybe a relationship disaster. I know I did that in my ex-marriage. It was too late, became a divorce. You can do number two, which is do it yourself, sort of the John Wayne approach. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for that I wasted 20 years of my life trying to figure it out myself. And it cost me immense, painful divorce and many broken relationships and 4 broken engagements. So 1 divorce, 4 broken engagements. Or you can get a mentor, which I finally did. And my first mentor was a guy named Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The next one was Tony Robbins. And I ended up working for Tony. And one of the things Tony talked about is, how do you turn decades into days? Well, you do that by finding a mentor, and you learn and grow. Now, when it comes to working on your relationship, it's never too early to work on it. But I guarantee you, and I can tell you from experience, there's definitely times it's too late. So I'm going to ask you, what difference would it make if you were able to be in a relationship where your needs were precious and your partner's needs were precious, where you had the distinctions, where you're able to notice your needs and name your needs and negotiate your needs back and forth, be able to talk about them so that you both feel heard, understood, and valued? What difference would it make? So I'm wrapping it up. Next steps. Here are some couple of things that you can do. And I didn't do this at the beginning. I didn't tell you too much about me. For over 25 years, I have coached couples. I wrote a best-selling book. It was #1 in counseling, couples and marriage, family therapy, marriage, healthy relationships, and even #1 in dysfunctional relationships. It's called Argue Less, Love More. It's on, you can get it on Amazon. My YouTube video, this was a while ago. It was at 5.8 million views. It's now at 6.2 million views. If you go to my website, Argue Less, Love More, there's a great 15-minute video that will really help you understand even more what I'm talking about. So here's what you can do. You can join my Facebook group, the Courageous Love Course Facebook group. You can take a break. You can get a breakthrough, take the survey, and set up a 15-minute breakthrough session with me where we look at where you are, where you want to go, and what's in the way. And I help people that are having either relationship problems, or they see problems coming and they want to prevent them, or they want to create a whole new world of possibility in their relationship. So when it comes to problems, typical areas are jealousy, affairs, broken agreements, financial disagreements, vision for the future. Work with those all the time. Prevention is you're trying to prevent those problems. And a whole new world of possibility is getting clear. If you could have it all your way, what kind of a relationship would you really want? So, number one, you can join the Facebook group. Number two, you can take the survey, create up a breakthrough session. And number three is you can get a free copy. This is normally $19.97. If you go to Amazon right now, that's $19.97. I'll send you a PDF copy if you message me. And how do you message me? Argue less, love more, message. And that will send you over to my, and this message, that should be small m, not big M. Sorry about that. That may actually make a difference. Small m. Then that will take you to my Facebook Messenger. You can get a hold of me and I will get you the information. What I'd love to do is I'd love to know, what did you get from today? What breakthrough, what aha, what insight did you get from today? If you could share that here, that would be awesome. That would be a gift to me. Also, if you think this would be helpful to somebody, you can tag them and they can watch the replay. All right. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Have an awesome night. I will see you later. This has been the Courageous Love Show, Thursday nights at 6:05 and most Sundays at 4:05.